Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here tonight. The topic of our webinar tonight is Ballet and Beyond, how creative movement and community building empowers people living with SLE. I'm your host, Lisa Bilodeau. I'm the Vice President on the Board of Lupus Ontario. And Lupus Ontario is the largest provincial voluntary organization dedicated to improving the lives of people living with lupus. Lupus Ontario's mission is to provide vital support, education, awareness, advocacy, and research through the fundraising efforts of our staff and volunteer community to help those with lupus live longer, healthier, and better lives. One of the ways we do that are things like this webinar this evening, which is hosted by two of our support group facilitators. I just want to start with a brief land acknowledgement for Ontario. Some of you may be watching this from elsewhere, but as we are located in Ontario, we come with respect for this land that we are on today and for the people who have and do reside here. We acknowledge that there are 46 treaties and other agreements that covered the territory now called Ontario. We are thankful to be able to work and live in these territories. We are thankful to the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who have cared for these territories since time immemorial, and who continue to contribute to the strength of Ontario and to all the communities across the province. We offer gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relations, and may we honor those teachings. Tonight, we are going to be talking about exploring how ballet and gentle movement can positively benefit those living with lupus, along with an overview of the Dance and Medicine biweekly beginner ballet classes. Emma and Katie are our two speakers this evening. They are our Dance and Medicine Ballet Support Group facilitators. Katie Healey is a fourth-year medical student at Memorial University in Newfoundland. Prior to medical school, she completed a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics at Acadia University in Nova Scotia. She was born and raised in Newfoundland. She has been a co-leader for the Dance and Medicine Ballet class since September of 2021. Teaching ballet classes for people living with lupus is rewarding for her because it allows her to see the transformative power of dance in action. As someone who has danced since the age of 3, she understands how movement can uplift and heal, and she feels honored to share this experience with others as a tool to cope with illness. She values creating a safe and supportive space where participants can build resilience while enjoying the art of ballet in an adaptive and accessible way. Emma Neary is a second-year internal medicine resident at McGill University, planning to pursue fellowship training in rheumatology. Involved in dance from a young age, she believes that dance is an invaluable tool for creative expression and connection. Her interest in how movement can shape the illness experience led her to become involved with the Lupus Ontario community in 2020, where she founded the Dance and Medicine Working Group and has since co-led biweekly ballet classes. Her current research focuses on examining biomarkers associated with cognitive impairment in SLE and integrating patient engagement into rheumatology practices through community building initiatives. In her career, she hopes to further explore how art and movement can intersect to improve the quality of life of patients with SLE. Thanks so much, Katie and Emma. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa, for the introductions. So we're really excited to reflect on our experience with Lupus Ontario and the Dance and Medicine group and share a little bit about the importance of physical activity and storytelling, as well as community building for those of us living with SLE. So we first proposed the idea for the biweekly dance classes in 2020 during the pandemic. We thought of it as a way to promote movement within Lupus Ontario during a time where physical and social isolation was affecting us all. But we came to realize that dance specifically, as a form of physical activity and as an art form, could offer additional benefits. So we'll touch on these 3 benefits through key themes in our talk today. The first theme that we'll discuss is the history of dance as a social and a cultural tool to facilitate connection, communication, and understanding. The second theme that we'll touch on is the importance of movement in SLE and chronic diseases in general. And we'll also discuss some of the evidence around dance specifically and how it can improve both physical and cognitive health. And then finally, we'll touch on something that we learned through our classes and through feedback from dancers in our group, which is how dance can promote self-expression and to tell a story. Dance has historically been a powerful tool for communication and connection across various cultures. Movement has been used to transcend barriers of understanding and foster community. Imagine you hear a knock at your door at 9 p.m. on a Friday night. You open the door and a group of colorfully dressed people run into your house, dancing and playing music. In the Newfoundland culture where Katie and I grew up, this is a tradition that we call mummering. Around the winter holidays in more rural communities, it's a normal thing to experience these types of unexpected performances. And it's not just about having fun, but mummering is a tradition that breaks down social barriers and encourages community trust and solidarity. It really brings people together across multiple generations through music and dance, and it allows for people to come together to catch up who may not normally be in touch in other settings. In addition to the benefits of community building, dance provides an opportunity for communicating ideas and messages through a separate language. There's interesting research on this subject coming out of the University of Hertfordshire Dance Psychology Lab run by Dr. Peter Lovat in the UK. One of his older studies looked at groups of individuals and examined factors influencing their ability to convey a story or a narrative. In addition to certain cognitive factors like word finding abilities, working memory, and verbal fluency, they found, interestingly, that those who use more gestures could more effectively convey their messages. And also people who engaged in dance classes, both the choreographed and freestyle type, before being asked to tell a story, were found to use more hand gestures. They ended up having increased diversity of responses and verbal fluency. So this really suggested that dance could have a neuromodulatory effect that translates into improved cognitive performance in all the domains that influence communication skills, among other things. So this sort of brought us to our second aim, which is to think about the health benefits of movement and dance for individuals with SLE. We know that neuropsychiatric SLE has various manifestations ranging from mild difficulty with memory and word finding, for example, to more severe manifestations like seizures or psychosis. And these cognitive effects are measurable in around 40% of people with SLE. An even greater percentage of people with SLE experience anxiety and depression. Although we're getting closer and closer to finding better targeted treatments for the cognitive effects of SLE, this is a manifestation that has less available treatments compared to other organ systems. And there are even less studies examining the benefits of non-pharmacologic interventions for managing the cognitive symptoms of SLE, like exercise, for example. But what we do know is that in other diseases with neuroinflammatory components, like Parkinson's disease, there's evidence pointing towards dance having a uniquely beneficial effect on cognition. And this is thought to be through improving neuroplasticity. Dr. Lovat published another study in 2013, which examined how different styles of dance can target and modify various cognitive strengths. In his lab, he recruited participants to take part in two types of prolonged dance programs. The first was a choreography-based program, sort of like a You Copy Me dance class, and the other was a more creative movement class, or a freestyle type dance class. Before participants started the class, they completed memory, spatial learning, problem solving, abstract thinking, and math testing. And after the classes were done, the same cognitive testing was repeated. And what he found was that those who took the choreography-based dance classes had significant improvements in what was called their convergent thinking, which is their ability to solve problems with one answer, like a math question. And those that took the freestyle classes had improvements in their divergent thinking. So they were able to recite more answers to questions like, tell me how many different possible uses you can think of for using a kitchen spoon. And so his study suggested that different types of dance can actually produce measurable improvements in specific cognitive domains. Other groups have also investigated the positive neurocognitive effects of structured movement like dance. In participants who've undergone cognitive testing before and after engaging in structured dance classes, or even single dance classes, benefits have been observed in processing speed, executive function, memory recall, among others. And some studies have even found that dance may have unique benefits for cognition compared to other types of exercise. There's one study by Kubar et al. They compared groups undergoing structured exercise programs with dance versus Tai Chi, and they found improvements in attention and focus in the dance group, and those improvements weren't observed in the Tai Chi group, interestingly. So these findings are pertinent to all folks who have neuropsychiatric manifestations of SLE, especially those who may have challenges with some or all of the above cognitive domains. So there are no studies that specifically look at structured dance programs and their effects on cognitive function in individuals with SLE, but our hope is that it's on the horizon. But what we do know is that in general, dance can build up cognitive reserves, and it can have positive effects on community and overall well-being.
This brings us to the second aim of the presentation. Movement benefits individuals with SLE, and I'll go through now some of the physical benefits of this. As we all know, lupus affects many different organs, many different parts of the body, as represented in this photo. So here are some guidelines from the World Health Organization on physical activity. The current recommendations are at least 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity, or at least 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity, or some equivalent combination of the two. They also recommend replacing sedentary time with physical activity of any intensity. And this is just general guidelines, not specific to patients living with SLE. What we do know is that compared to the general population, people living with SLE, about 11.8 to around 30% of this population meets this guideline there. Next, we'll talk about the 5 benefits of exercise. This is more specific and applicable to individuals living with lupus. This comes directly from the Lupus Foundation of America. So the 5 benefits that they list are that exercise can strengthen parts of your body that may be affected by lupus, such as, the heart, the lungs, bones, and joints. Exercise can help reduce inflammation by regulating some of the chemicals involved in the inflammatory process. And number 3 is that it can also help control any changes in weight caused by use of medications. It can also exercise, even a simple low impact movement can help make the muscles a little less stiff, increase the range of motion. And finally, exercise may boost mental health, making it a little bit easier to cope with some life stressors, potentially improving mood and self-esteem. And in addition, exercise can reduce fatigue. And I've got a quote here on the bottom left of the screen saying that working out with a buddy can give you the moral support to stick with your exercise routine while making your fitness time double as social time. So, it's beneficial to do this, on your own if you prefer, but as well, it can be double as social time if you do it with other people as well. So now I'll go through a study titled Exercise and Physical Activity in SLE. The aim of this study, published in 2017, was to evaluate the effect of exercise and physical activity on disease activity in adults living with SLE, including any potential deleterious effects. And additionally, the study evaluates the effects of exercise interventions on cardiovascular function and risk factors, physical activity and function, health-related measures, habitual physical activity levels in adults living with SLE. A final objective was to explore the effects of different types of exercise programs. This was completed in Ireland. It was a systematic review that considered 469 patients across 11 studies. So the key findings of this study are, number one, safety and disease activity. So the exercise interventions were reported as safe with rare adverse effects and did not adversely affect disease activity in individuals living with SLE. Number two, fatigue. So they found that exercise significantly improved fatigue compared to the control group. Number three would be depression. So they found that exercise positively influenced depression, with significant improvements noted in the exercise groups. Number four would be cardiovascular capacity. The exercise intervention significantly improved aerobic capacity and cardiovascular function. As well, number five would be physical fitness and function. They found that exercise improved physical fitness function as measured by aerobic capacity and other performance measures like the health assessment questionnaire and the 12-minute walk test. And two more to go through from the study. Six would be the cardiovascular risk factors. The programs did not have any significant effects on cardiovascular risk factors compared to controls. And number seven is that the optimal exercise protocol for individuals living with SLE remains unclear, and further research is needed to determine the best exercise regime. So overall, the study suggests that therapeutic exercise programs are beneficial and safe for individuals living with SLE, as they improve fatigue, depression, and physical fitness without adversely affecting disease activity. This is another study more recently published just last year. This is a systematic review of the literature on the benefits and risks of physical activity in patients with SLE. This research group considered a larger patient cohort, over 2,000 patients across 40 articles. The findings were significant. The findings were that they found a significant benefit on estimated cardiovascular risk, improved strength, decreased fatigue, and reduced depression. They also highlighted that there were, again, no negative implications of exercise. So overall, conclusions from the authors are that aerobic and resistant training programs had clear benefits and were well tolerated in patients with stable disease activity. Again, there was no universal recommendations on physical activity, and they stated that further recommendations are needed to promote physical activity and its benefits in patients living with SLE.
I'll unmute myself. This brings us back to our final aim, which is to discuss something that we learned through the classes. And that's about dance and how it can be a form of self-expression and storytelling for individuals with SLE. So in addition to the reflections that we go through at the beginning of each class, the feedback that we received indicated that the actual act of dancing and the physical motion involved with that served as an opportunity for reflection. So we gave the dance group a survey at the beginning and end of classes in the fall 2023 period. Out of the 10 people who responded, everyone felt that the classes had a positive impact on their ability to self-reflect and also to self-express in classes. And most dancers also felt that participating in classes helped their ability to tell their story outside of classes. So in class, we explored some of the themes around storytelling. Those that shared positive experiences around storytelling conveyed that dance classes allowed them to check in about where they were at with their SLE and to use this as a point of discussion with family, friends, and their healthcare team. For those with friends and family members who came to classes, going through the movements provided an opportunity to express emotions and to share personal experiences in a nonverbal way, which fostered a shared understanding. Some patients were even able to pinpoint how they felt during classes and use that as a talking point with their healthcare professionals, as you can see in the bottom quote here, given in one of the anonymous feedback reports. So just a little bit more about our classes on the practical side of things. I'll hand it back to Katie to talk a little bit about the structure of our classes.
All right, thank you, Emma. So we have a beginner ballet class. As we mentioned at the beginning, we started this in 2020. There's no ballet experience required. The number of participants vary week to week, but we do have regular participants that some of us have started back in 2020. And this fosters a really nice community within our classes. The participants have a camera on or off option. It's up to you. Typically, at the start of the class, people have their cameras on to say hello, and may turn them off during the actual dance part. Emma and I will have our video on the whole time with live demonstration. Typically, we'll go through the exercises as a group, and then we'll turn on the music and all do it together. Em and I do the exercises the entire time. So we're all doing it together. There's no pressure to memorize. And this is very much at your own pace. So we constantly encourage participants throughout the classes to let us know if there's any modifications that we can do that can help everyone participate, whether that be dancing from a seated position, or, you know, if one of, say, having some issues raising your arms over your head, something like that, we can always modify our moves so that everyone can participate. So the schedule, we've been doing this, this year now, it's Thursdays, 7 p.m., and they are bi-weekly. Classes run for about 45 minutes. They happen year round. We do have some select breaks during Christmas time, as well as about a month in the summer as well. So now we'll go through the class design. As I said, it's about 45 minutes. We start off with some reflections. Emma and I typically start off first. We begin sharing some reflections over the past week. After this, we invite any of the dancers to share some reflections that they may have if they choose to. And this is, you know, no pressure at all. It's really individualized if you feel comfortable sharing. And some dancers turn on their camera to share some reflections, and others keep their camera off. And some dancers type in the chat a couple words over the past couple of weeks. So it's really individualized on what you feel comfortable contributing. After this, we'll do our warm-up for about 5 minutes. We'll start stretching the upper and lower body, and we'll do this standing and seated. So just to take you through kind of a snapshot of what it may look like. So the sample warm-up, we start with one song. Our songs are instrumental, typically piano ballet songs. Sometimes we'll do some themed classes, like Christmas time. We just had our most recent class. We had a lot of Nutcracker music and Christmas themed songs. So we'll start off with one song. We'll start sitting down, or sorry, standing up. And we'll do head circles, shoulder stretches, side stretches, forward bends, and then we'll sit down, do butterfly stretches, forward stretch, lie down, split. And we're guiding this whole time, so there's no need to memorize this lesson plan. This is typically actually something Emma and I think of before, and this changes every week.
And when we say there's a split, I'll just tell you that it's definitely not a full split. This is just a gesture towards a split, to be generous.
Next is the floor component of our class. This usually lasts about 20 minutes. We'll do 3 different sequences standing. These sequences change each class. We typically add different music every class. We may keep around one combination and work through it a couple times of the seasons and add on. It's a combination of different ballet moves together. We really aim to work on the ballet foundations in this section. So it's very gentle movement, definitely not too intense or anything. And again, no memorization needed. Em and I are doing live demonstrations the entire time. So this is some sample of the arm positions. As you can see here, first position, second, third, fourth, and fifth down at the bottom right. So typically our sequences incorporate some variation of these arm positions, and we send out this handout in an email usually at the start of the season, just so participants can follow along if they're not familiar with the moves or positioning. And here we also have some sample feet positions too, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. I don't think we've ever done sixth position, but we typically work on these positions throughout the class and again, send it out at the beginning of the season just so everybody is on the same page. And yeah, we typically get everyone to follow along with us again through these positions. And typically it's a combination of the arms, like I mentioned before, and these feet positions. And that brings us to, so it's been, we've done the warm up and then we've done the floor, and then we'll take a quick 5-minute water break. This is a good time to get some much needed water and take a break. But also we welcome any feedback going forward. Participants, we've got a pretty good community, and we're very happy to take feedback. So if there's anything that people liked or didn't like, Em and I are always happy to hear it. And this is typically the time that we get some feedback.
Sometimes during this period too, we'll have questions about certain movements and how they can be modified. And usually at that point, we'll provide some tips, and we'll go through some modifications with people if need be.
And then the final 10 minutes includes our bar. As you can see in the bottom right, this is a picture of a ballet bar. That's certainly not what we enforce during our classes. A countertop or the back of a couch will do. It's just really for support of one arm. And we'll go through about 5 sequences on the bar. And here's a sample bar lesson. So we'll have 5 different songs. Each exercise there is about maybe 45 seconds long. So tendus, pliés, rond de jambe, dégagé, and fondus. So we let our participants know what these exercises are, and we do demonstrations of the words and let everyone follow along. So that brings us to some concluding thoughts. So throughout the presentation, we commented on how gentle exercise has shown to have some positive benefits on people living with SLE. As we went through in the studies, there's no specific guidelines on this. We were highlighting some research that says that there's benefits, but there's nothing specific on how much or how little one should be doing. So because of that, we always recommend moving at your own pace, even during our dance classes. There's never any pressure to even do all of the classes. Sometimes when some dancers are in a flare, they just come to listen to the music and for that community aspect. So we really recommend moving at your own pace, as well as taking some time to yourself. We're talking about the dance class here tonight, but any form of exercise is useful. So if dance isn't your thing, there's certainly engaging in another activity that you enjoy is just as beneficial for sure. our classes, if anyone is interested in joining, always happy to take any new dancers to join. They run bi-weekly on Thursdays at 7 p.m. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie and Emma. That was really incredibly informative. One of the reasons we wanted to do this webinar for our community was to really showcase what it is you do. And thank you so much for providing the science behind why it's important. There were a few things that you pointed out that I thought were especially worth highlighting. Um, One, that movement like this is good for anyone in general, but in the particular part of those with cognitive issues or any other chronic illnesses. Um, it might be misleading to some people when they see on our website that we offer this as a ballet and medicine class, thinking, I'm not a dancer, I've never done ballet, and I can't move that well. And it's one of the reasons I hadn't attended when I first heard about it, with my own mobility issues, and thought, well, wait a second, there has to be a good reason why we're offering this. So having joined it and been to some sessions with you, I am very appreciative of the way that you make it accessible for all. Um, when you are modifying or suggesting modifications as you're going along, you provide such a range of modifications for people that I do know some of the other people in the class and how some are doing it while they're sitting and some standing, and that is extremely helpful. So if you're watching this now and you're wondering, I don't really know ballet, that's okay. I don't either. Emma and Katie are very open to sharing how to move, and it literally is to just get your body moving. And there's great ways to adapt, and it does make you feel better. So if your mobility is limited, also if you're watching this and you have lupus, but you know of someone else who has another illness or another situation or just a very sedentary lifestyle, this class is available for all. It is free, it is virtual. You can join us anytime, so please share that with others. So I wanted to say thank you as a participant for making it accessible for me. I'm able to do a little bit more than I even thought I could, so I do appreciate that very much. Was there anything else that you wanted to say, or are we good to wrap up this evening?
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Lisa, for the kind feedback. It's really wonderful to hear that everything that you're saying, that for people who are a little bit intimidated by the thought of ballet and not knowing all the movements, it's really the purpose is to learn and to try to get moving in any way that you can, any way that you're comfortable, and just like you said. All are welcome, and we'd love to see you all at the classes.
Mm-hmm. And just so people know, I know that they've explained how it's structured, but one of the best things for me is that when they go to each section, whichever one is leading it, the instructor will say, okay, without the music on, here are the moves we're going to do. Do them with me now, and explains it, and then puts on the music and we do it together. So I don't feel like I'm watching and trying to catch up like some big exercise class. It's beautiful the way you've structured it, and I really appreciate that. And so I do invite anyone to join us for those classes at any point. So I just want to say thank you everyone for attending tonight, and we look forward to seeing you at some point in the near future.